And everyone, I welcome you all back to the online ground classes. And this is the time to discuss the third chapter of the course. The title of the chapter is ATC Procedures and Radio Telephone. In this chapter, we shall be discussing about what is air traffic control, how they function, what are their various divisions under them, why do we need them, and what are the procedures they follow, and we will also look into radio telephony as. So the very first question that may rise in your mind is, so why do we need to study about ATC when we are operating with the drones which are limited to be flown at maximum around 400 feet height? So why is it required that we should study about ATC, their procedures, the way they functions, their various divisions under them, and many more things about that? So if this is the question in your mind, I would say yes, it may come, but I must answer to this particular doubt in view of the future prospects. What do I mean with this is, see, currently the unmanned aerial systems being operated under VLOS flight rules, visual line of sight. But very soon in the future, there will be a requirement of BVLOS certification, means beyond visual line of sight certification. And as you have already understood in the first chapter, where we were discussing about the ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization, and their focus with respect to RPAS, that is remotely piloted aircraft system. It was one of the objective of ICAO to make it to develop the unmanned aerial systems to a level where instrument flying operations can take place. This is why we must prepare ourselves into this direction of the future, so that whenever there is a requirement, the BVLOS certification can easily be achieved if we have the knowledge of ATC procedures. Let's talk about air traffic control. ATC stands for air traffic control, and its operations involve the management of aircraft in flight and on the ground as. The primary goal of air traffic control is to ensure the safe, orderly, and efficient flow of air traffic in the airspace under its supervision. They use various tools and methods. They use radars, communication systems to monitor the aircraft movement. They are responsible for issuing clearances and provide important information to the pilot during the flight. What are the objectives of air traffic control services? The objectives of air traffic control services can be highlighted into four main key points. They are responsible to prevent the collisions between the aircraft. They are the one who maintains the smooth and well-managed flow of air traffic. They provide advice and information which are useful for safe flight operations. They also assist the organizations, various departments during the search and rescue operations. There is a term which is advice and information. Let me tell you the difference between the advice, because ATC is also responsible for advising and providing the information. So advice means anyone who can give advice should be an expert in that field. Right? Everyone could not give the advice. So ATC have some experts in their team who can advise the pilots through their experiences, and they also provide relevant information to the pilots during the flight, which can affect its safety, like weather information, weather related, or if any natural life-threatening event is taking place, maybe a volcanic eruption somewhere at some places. So these informations may affect the safety of the flight. So informations like these kind of is provided by the ATC. I hope the objectives of air traffic control services is now a bit clear. Let's proceed with the chapter and we will dwell into the detail of these things. Let us now discuss about the divisions of air traffic service. Air traffic service has three divisions. Air Traffic Control Service, which is known as ATC service. The second division of the air traffic service is the Flight Information Service. And the third division is the Alerting Service. Let us discuss each one. Air Traffic Control Service provides three services under them. They provide area control service, they provide approach control service, and they provide aerodrome control service. Area control service, we can define or we can understand it in this way, that the provision of air traffic control service, which is for controlled flights in control areas. So I was talking about the area control service. The airspace have some controlled area in which the ATC provides assistance to the pilots. It provides information to the pilots. That is, we call it as area control or controlled areas. Now, when the aircraft is about to reach its destination and wants to land, then area control service hands over to the approach control service. And then from hereafter, approach control service takes care of the safe flight operation till it lands on the airport. So, approach control service, we can understand this way. The provision of air traffic control service for those parts of controlled flights which are associated with arrival or departure. In case area control service is not established, then it is the approach control service who is responsible to provide service in those areas as well. Okay. Now, when the aircraft has landed and the landing is over, then approach control service hands over to the responsibilities to the aerodrome control service. The service provided to the airborne traffic is known as airborne control service. So this was all about air traffic control services. Now, Flight Information Service. Flight Information Service provides advice and information which are useful for the safe and efficient conduct of flights. We shall be discussing about Flight Information Service in the subsequent slides in little detail from Indian scenarios. The third air traffic service is Alerting Service. Alerting service notifies appropriate informations regarding the aircraft in need of search and rescue operations. And they also assist such organizations whenever required. So these were about the divisions of the air traffic services. Why do we need air traffic services? There are various reasons behind it, not the one. Let me bring out one by one for better clarity on air traffic controls. The first reason why we need air traffic services is because of the volume of air traffic. There are so many aircrafts which are flying in the airspace at the same time, and this is important that there should not be any accidents because life is involved. In the sky, there are no roads that can act as a guideline for the vehicles to move in an orderly manner. So, air traffic services defines the flight paths of every aircraft. They set their altitude and they ensure that every aircraft which is flying should be following the rules, regulations. The second reason is the complexity in the airspace. The airspace is not everywhere of the same nature, like the airspace near airports, the airspace near military bases. These are the very busiest airspaces on the globe. So, ATC takes care of the safety of the flight when they are passing over these complex airspaces. Of course, the third one, why do we all need these things, is because of the safety. So, ATC tracks that everyone is following the rules and regulations, and if it is violated, there is a heavy penalty and hearings. The another reason is the weather conditions. The weather is very dynamic as it is a local phenomenon and changes from place to place. So ATC sensitizes the pilots when to take off, when not to take off, and there are many other factors as designation of airspaces. I'm discussing about the airspace. Airspace terms have come number of times in our discussion. Let us talk about this airspace in little detail. The airspace have some prohibited area with them. There are some restricted areas in the airspace. There are some danger areas as well. Some airspaces are controlled airspace, some are uncontrolled airspace. What does that mean? The prohibited area in an airspace can be defined as, it is the airspace of defined dimensions within which the flight of an aircraft is prohibited. Means it could not be flown over that. Example, Rakshpati Bhav. It is a prohibited area. However, for your information, I can let you know that it is only the central government with the permission of, no problem, designation of airspaces. They have been talking about this term airspace and it has come number of times in our discussion. Let us get into the detail of this airspace. The airspace has several types of area which are referred as sometimes prohibited area. Some of the airspace is referred as restricted area, danger area, controlled areas, and some uncontrolled areas. Prohibited area, the airspace which is referred as the prohibited area, can be defined as the airspace in which the flight of an aircraft is prohibited. Prohibited means it's not allowed in any way. Example, Rakshpati Bhav. This is a prohibited area and over this cannot fly aircraft. Some areas are referred as restricted areas. Restricted areas can be defined as an airspace of defined dimensions within which the flight of an aircraft is restricted with some certain conditions. Example, the defense aerodromes and their airspaces. Means by the permission, with prior permissions, you can enter their restricted areas and take off or land. There are some danger areas as well. Danger areas are those airspaces within which the activities which are dangerous to the flight of any aircraft exists. Example, Sri Harikota rocket launcher, launch center, a site which is a nuclear power plant, Pokhran range. So these are the examples of danger peaks. And over this, the flight should not be flown. Some areas I was telling are referred as controlled areas. Some are referred as uncontrolled areas. This is with respect to the services which are provided by air traffic control. If air traffic control services are provided in the airspace, those are known as controlled airspace or controlled aerodromes. If the air traffic services are not provided, those are referred as uncontrolled. We will discuss this separately. Airspace can be classified based on the air traffic control usage as well. So, controlled and uncontrolled airspaces are now clear, I hope. The airspace in which the air traffic control service is provided are referred as controlled areas and controlled aeroports. Controlled areas are those portions of airspace where air traffic control service is provided to IFR flights which are following with the rules of instrument flight rules. And these control areas can also be defined as the portions of airspace where the air traffic control service is provided to the VFR flights shall be designated as classes B, C or D airspace. Controlled aerodromes, as the term aerodrome refers. The controlled aerodromes are those portions of airspace where air traffic control service is provided to the aerodrome traffic, means on the runway, which is a part of an airport, functional air. Now we shall discuss about the flight information regions, which we left in the previous few slides. In India, if we talk about Indian scenario, there are a total of 5 flight information regions. We can see in the image on the screen that there is a Chennai flight information region, Delhi flight information region, Kolkata flight information region, Mumbai flight information region, and the 5th one is the Guwahati, which is actually a sub-flight information region, a sub-region within the Kolkata FIR. So these are a total of 5 flight information regions, and these flight information regions provides the important informations to the pilots during the flight that may influence or affect the safety of the aircraft. And these flight information regions tells the aircraft about various other details. Like I was telling, if there is an sudden weather change, some areas, it will be communicated to the pilots that there is a severe change in the weather. Now, how flight information region when participates during the flight? This is important to understand because ATC is also providing information. Flight information region is also providing information. There are alerting services also. So it is important here to understand what is their level of participation and when they communicate with the pilot and enforce them. Say, for example, if the flight has to take off from Mumbai to, let's say, Delhi, then first of all, the aerodrome control service will take care of the aircraft before takeoff, and after the safe takeoff, it will hand over the responsibility to the approach control service. Then approach control service will hand over the responsibility for the safe operations of that particular aircraft to the area control service of Mumbai Air. Now, when the aircraft will cross the area control service, it will enter into the flight information region of Mumbai, and that from hereafter they will take care of the aircraft's operations. The moment this aircraft enters the flight information region of Delhi, the flight information region of Mumbai will hand over it to the Delhi flight information region. That from there onwards, it will be Delhi flight information region, which will be responsible to provide the relevant informations affecting that flight. Then the moment it enters the area control service of the Delhi airport, the Delhi flight information region will hand over it to the area control service of Delhi, and then thereafter area control service will, the moment aircraft is about to land, it will hand over to approach control service of Delhi, and after landing, the approach control service will hand over the responsibilities of that for keeping the aircraft safe to the aerodrome control service of Delhi. I hope this sequence is now clear in your mind and you have developed sufficient visual flight rules, VFR. Visual flight rules are the set of regulations that allow a pilot to operate an aircraft with visuals and without any instrumental data. VFR is very difficult in the case of unmanned aircraft systems operations because the first person view is not available as in the case of a manned aircraft. VFR comes into action when unmanned aircraft system operations are carried out in uncontrolled airspace with very limited altitude and distance from the. We shall also discuss about instrument flight rules as well. Instrument flight rules are regulations and procedures for flying the aircraft by referring only to the instrumental data in the cockpit. IFR is needed. The instrumental data is available in the aircraft's cockpit as well, and in case of unmanned aircraft systems, the instrumental data is available on a screen in the ground control station. So IFR is needed when UAS is operating at a higher altitude, when it is in a BLOS operation, beyond visual line of sight operations, and it is at a that means much away from the remote pilot. IFR helps the remote pilot with better understanding the location of his aircraft in the three-dimensional space. Role of ATC in unmanned aircraft systems. ATC has to make sure that no unmanned aircraft system comes into the flight path of a manned aircraft at any time throughout the operation. All the test flights of unmanned aircraft systems shall be carried out at designated test sites only. No test flights shall be allowed without the mandatory ATC clearance. During the entire operations of BVLOS flights, the nearest ATC shall be informed and in regular communication with the remote pilot. Radio telephony procedure. Radio telephony procedure includes various techniques which are used to clarify, simplify, and standardize the spoken communication over two-way radios. The radio telephony is used by civil aviation, armed forces, police departments, fire dispatching systems, and many other. According to the UK's radio telephony manual CAP 413, the the radio operators should talk at a speed of fewer than 100 words per minute. During radio telephony, it must be kept in mind that the person who is receiving the message may not have English as his mother tongue. Therefore, it is important to speak clearly and only use standard radio telephony words and phrases. Alphabet is also referred to as the International Civil Aviation Organization alphabet or the military alphabet. And the way we have NATO phonetic alphabet list, same way we have list for numerances, where 0 we can say has pronounced as 0, 1 is pronounced as 1, 2 as 2, and 3, then F is pronounced as foyer. So this is how 9 is here pronounced as niner. Emergencies and contingencies. During the flight operations, though ATC is taking care for managing and monitoring the movement of aircrafts in the airspace and taking care of the safety of passengers, crew, and the aircraft as well, but still, emergencies and contingencies can arise, and it requires immediate attention from the air traffic control. Air traffic controllers are working very hard to make us fly safely. There could be various reasons due to which a situation of emergency may arise. For example, aircraft may suffer an engine failure, or there could be some medical emergency on board. Weather-related emergencies such as thunderstorms, the hurricanes, maybe airspace intrusions such as the unauthorized aircraft has entered the restricted airspace. That is also a condition of maybe any aircraft deviating from their assigned flight path or any reason, but it is a condition of emergency as it could affect the safety of other aircraft. There may be a communication failure where ATC is now no more in contact with the aircraft. In that case, there are some procedures which pilot has to follow. There is a equipment on board an aircraft which is a transponder, and the pilots are advised to the instructor in the condition of communication failure or maybe in a condition of emergency, like if they got hijacked, they have to enter a transponder code, which are also known as SPAC code. The transponder is the equipment which can transmit the information which are related to the code entered by the eye, and it can be retrieved and understood. This particular aircraft is going through certain emergency situation. There could be a equipment failure. The aircraft is made up of so many components working together, and if one component fails, it affects the entire system, which could take the aircraft into a situation of getting crashed. There is a one dedicated video which I would like to show you out, and this video is dedicated to the air traffic controllers.